now, right 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 now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekday daily morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, this is a weekday morning show in, I suppose, Southeast Asia. It's probably morning over there somewhere. I do apologize for the delay. We were in the hospital again. You guys will have to pray for my wife. She's having some strange heart complications, extremely high heart rate. So, been there. We're home now. Seeming that some IV fluids helped to bring that down. So we're going to go ahead and make up for that stream that we missed this morning right now. We're going to probably cap it at about half an hour, but I'm excited that we got to do this afternoon. It's funny, sometimes when I'm not able to do content, it ends up working out to our advantage. The fact is, the United States government shutdown looks like it might be coming to a conclusion almost maybe even tonight. So we're going to be looking at this. Very excited to go over what's been happening and also discuss where Bitcoin is. So guys, without much further ado, let's get started. Mike Lowry is in chat. Christopher Ryans is in chat. Simon Strasberg is in chat. Kryptoni is in chat. Said, brother, I don't have any coffee. That's okay. We'll make this, bust out the whiskey, right? Come on now. Anthony's in chat. Ava Angel's in chat. David's in chat. R Masters TV is in chat. Matt is in chat. Beetlejuice in chat. Pomp in chat. Ashley Yorkie. Good to see all of you guys. Really appreciate all of you. Hey, really big announcement before I get started. If you are not following me on X, you need to, because just about no matter what is going on in our life, I am over here posting on X. So even though our content did not come out as scheduled today, because as I said, we've been in the hospital all day, I've been posting on X. So if you want to see content from me, you're going to get it just about 24/7 over on X. I'm just always posting something over here. So definitely make sure to follow me over here. This is also where I post all of our official predictions. We bookmark all of them and bring them up from time to time to go over them, whether we got them right or wrong. So make sure that you follow us over here. All right. Let's get started. Bitcoin has had an absolutely phenomenal weekend. I was leaning in the direction that Bitcoin was going to have bottomed at approximately $98,000, which is what we saw happen over the last few days. As we've talked about, Bitcoin was in a phenomenal position to set in some bullish RSI divergence if we ended up dropping lower. That didn't happen. Bitcoin actually played out our first scenario that we discussed on stream on Saturday. And that was that Bitcoin would actually just kind of rally up here and clip up above 104,000. And that scenario happened for a couple of reasons. But the main reason that scenario occurred was because we saw news that the United States federal government shutdown was moving into what would probably amount to a resolution. And so we don't have a resolution yet, but it seems that an agreement has been made on that. And there is a possibility that there is going to be a opening of the government at some point very soon. And so with that in mind, you're seeing these very strong higher lows form on Bitcoin. You can see there's a slightly higher high, but there's also these very strong higher lows. And Bitcoin, if you look here, is showing extreme strength. You had this attempted like Bart Simpson pattern where we just fall over and capitulate. Didn't materialize. Instead, Bitcoin is marching higher, rallying right up here towards a pretty large sell wall at 106,000. And when that breaks, it's very likely that we're going to see a pretty large movement on Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because we have a great deal of liquidation sitting up just above $106,000. You can see the tight range that Bitcoin is in right now. There is an absolutely massive bulwark of short liquidations at $107,000. And so these shorts are most likely going to get liquidated. You can see this little Bart Simpson kind of pattern that we saw earlier where Bitcoin dropped over from 106.4 down to 105 was a long liquidation pattern. People went long. They went like 40x long. They went way too high leverage. on the longs. Right now is the time, since we've already gotten so far away from $100,000 to be looking at like 10, 15x longs tops. But a lot of people went like 40x long, and so we had a small short squeeze that happened earlier today. That's why you saw this falling over here on the chart. That's exactly what that was, as I said, a long squeeze. But it's very interesting that the bulls bought it right back up. And as we have discussed, there's a major amount of short liquidations sitting up here at 107. And that's just on the 24 hours. If you look on the last 2 weeks or so, there are short liquidations stacked all the way back up to all-time high, and a great number of them stacked up here at about 112. So if Bitcoin does have another short liquidation, which will likely send us higher, that's going to continue to set higher highs and higher lows, which will help Bitcoin to establish an uptrend. This is a very classic bottoming pattern that we're seeing, and it's very high probability right now that Bitcoin is going to break through 107 on a short liquidation event. And it's going to get dragged up here towards 112,000, which is exactly what we have been discussing taking place over the last several days. So very encouraged by this, and it is highly possible that Bitcoin is in the process of putting into play a new uptrending level of support, something like this. If we just let this extrapolate and run over the week, by the end of the week, if Bitcoin did hold that, you're sitting at 116. So it's very possible that this is going to break. I'm not saying for sure we're going to hold on to that, but I do like to see the fact that Bitcoin is had a corrective movement, had the long squeeze. We dropped right back down here into the middle of this fair value gap. Who remembers me talking about the fair value gap on Bitcoin at approximately on Saturday, right? We were streaming this on Saturday. We said Bitcoin would probably rally up here. We dropped right back down into the middle of it, bounced off of the middle of this fair value gap, which would sit right about right here. And so that's exactly where we found our support. So a great deal of buying is taking place right here. A lot of a major sentiment shift. You can see the sentiment shifting over on X very, very rapidly back in the direction of bullishness. You see tweets that read things such as the probability of Bitcoin ever going below $100,000 ever again has markedly decreased. That is a very common sentiment on Bitcoin and crypto Twitter. I would agree with that sentiment. The possibility of Bitcoin ever going below $100,000 again has decreased. Now, I'm not saying that it's unlikely that we ever go below $100,000 again. It's very possible, but the possibility of that ever happening again has materially decreased. And so that is something that's very encouraging. On top of that, of course, we have this downtrend right here on Bitcoin. Bitcoin did break through that. We are essentially setting a back test on it right now, which is what this drop was. So we've basically broken above the downtrend, back tested it. And in general, this is exactly what you're looking for when you are looking for a 3-5A entry, which is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entry on Elliott Wave. And so you would see that it's not very clean. You could kind of argue that it looks something like this. That's really not a great example of Elliott Wave. But in general, this is just the way a lot of bottoming patterns end up working out. We saw the same thing happen over here, which was an actual proper 3-5A, which was this entry right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see it meets all of our criteria. 2 doesn't go below the bottom of 1. 4 doesn't cross over 1. 3 is not the smallest. This is a green check mark on it being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entry. And then you saw the ABC, ABC rally like that, right? Well, it's a lot more difficult to draw the exact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here because it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but you could fudge the numbers and say these two are equal bottoms and call this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could pull that off. And then at that point, what do you say? If that's the case, then you're looking for the ABC. Is that the ABC? Nah, maybe. What you actually might end up saying is something like this is the ABC, right? But the point is, it's not very beautiful. It's not elegant as it was in the last, in the last bounce off of 104. But it is nevertheless a pretty typical bottoming signal. You have the strong bottoms, slightly increasing low, and then significantly increasing low. You've got bullish momentum. You have short liquidations. You have everything you need for Bitcoin to go into a rally. Now what we need to see is we need to see Bitcoin set a higher high above these two highs. First and foremost, it needs to get above 112. But then what it really needs to do is get above 116. If Bitcoin can get above 116,000, that's where you're almost certainly going back towards all-time high. And so if you can see Bitcoin start to get its feet under it, rather than doing this number, because this is still very much a possibility, right? We're certainly in the early stages of this rally. We could just kind of tread up here to 110 and then reject off of 110 and drop back down. That could happen. I don't anticipate that to happen because we have a lot of really bullish news on the horizon, such as the federal government shutdown ending, but that is something to watch out for. So need to be cautious, but tentatively speaking, I'm leaning in the direction that was the bottom, 98,000. Leaning in that direction, pretty encouraged by what I'm seeing on Bitcoin's price action right now. And so I do think that we're moving in a good direction. Now, if we look at the longer term technicals, we're also going to notice something. As we've discussed, the death cross is imminent. It is coming in and it sits right here. Now, it's possible that we actually have like a little bounce right here if Bitcoin manages to rally far enough. But so long as Bitcoin is still down here below like 111 to 112, then a death cross is most likely going to happen, although it's probably getting dragged out further into the future as Bitcoin rallies here. But remember, so far in this cycle, and broadly speaking, in all of the previous cycles, when you saw the death crosses, I'll just go ahead and draw them here, they almost perfectly timed the exact bottom of the market, right? So I don't personally fear for that. I'm not concerned in the slightest about that death cross. What I am watching right now and what I believe bears a great deal of weight in the analysis space is, let me back up. Let me frame this. There is a debate that is basically taken over the idea of what is driving Bitcoin. And I'm very firmly on one side of the debate. Oftentimes I can see both sides, and I can see both sides, but I'm very firmly on one side of the debate here. And so the debate goes like this. Bitcoin follows the 4-year halving cycle. And so the 4-year halving cycle predicts that October the 6th was the all-time high at 126,000. They were going to go into a bear market in 2026, and the bottom of the bear market will be in approximately 12 months, right around midterms. That is the time-based analysis on Bitcoin as is built by the 4-year halving cycle. And strictly speaking, that's something that I've been an adherent to for a very long time because the data supports that theory. The issue is that the 4-year halving cycle is not causal. What day it is not something that Bitcoin really knows. Bitcoin has no concept of what day it is. The closest thing that Bitcoin has a concept of what time it is the block height, which is like 835,000, 840, whatever it is, somewhere in the mid 800s right now. It has really no concept of what day it is or when the midterms happen. What Bitcoin does have a concept of is simply two things, and that is the inflows and the outflows. The Bitcoin price has a concept of how much money is coming into the space and how much money is not. And so the other side of this debate is the idea that Bitcoin's price action is driven by global liquidity and specifically by the monetary policy at the Federal Reserve. I have very much moved in that direction because I don't understand why, when you're going into an easier money market, that you would not see a hard asset like Bitcoin, the hardest asset like Bitcoin, not succeed. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. And so it is too early to say that the 4-year halving cycle is dead. It has not been invalidated yet, but I do believe that it's going to be invalidated in a couple of different ways. Either one, we are going to see drawdowns, but they're not going to have their timing predicted by the 4-year halving cycle. Or two, and this is something that I'm almost certain is going to happen, like 98% confidence is going to happen. The 4-year halving cycle thus far has predicted, give or take, a 77 to 83% drawdown. I do not see that being the case. A 77% drawdown off of 126 would be $28,000. That doesn't pass the sniff test. That smells like BS to me, is what that smells like. That's just complete nonsense. There is no way that Bitcoin is going to go to $30,000 unless something very, very significantly changes in the fundamentals of this asset class. That would be almost 50% lower than the price of Bitcoin when the ETFs launched, and the ETFs custody hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Makes absolutely no sense. And so I'm leaning in the direction that the 4-year halving cycle is going to lose its predictive power in predicting the timing of the beginning of bear markets. It's not that we won't have bear markets. That's a misconception that some people have about people that are saying that the 4-year halving cycle is beginning to come to a conclusion. Because if you think about it, what sense does it make anyway? You have a halving, and so you have a bull market all-time high 560 days later. What's the rationale there? I mean, I suppose you could say that that's just how long it takes the market to adjust to the decreased inflows into the circulating supply. But in that case, shouldn't the 4-year halving cycle predict a different time based on which epoch we're in? Because the inflows are half as large as they are every single other time. In theory, shouldn't the market price in the 4-year halving cycle twice as fast every single time, or even maybe even 3 times as fast every single time that a 4-year halving cycle takes place? Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, if the flow rate, if you have 20 million Bitcoin and you go down to 1.6 whatever it is Bitcoin a day, then that is naturally half the size of the correction of the halving before it. So shouldn't, in theory, if the impact on the inflows of the supply be half as large, shouldn't that mean that the all-time high is going to happen sooner because it's priced in faster, because it's a less impactful event? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't rationalize it. I can't wrap my head around it. What I can wrap my head around is that these 4-year halving cycles are psychological. What I can wrap my head around is that Bitcoin experiences outflows and experiences inflows, and those people that are buying and selling, they are impacted by things like the 4-year halving cycle because it's psychological. And so here's what I think is going to happen. If Bitcoin manages to run into like January or February and sets a new all-time high because of a rate cut that is probably still coming in December, Jerome Powell told us not to price it in. Everybody's still pricing it in. Mirren wants half a percent, right? It's very possibly going to happen, even still. And you also are going to have quantitative tightening ending in 3 weeks. You're most likely going to see quantitative easing at least announced at some point this year. The transition away from QT to QE is probably not going to take 6 to 12 months like we originally thought. It's probably going to happen sooner. Genuinely, it's probably going to happen sooner. And so if you have confirmed signaling from the United States Federal Reserve and from the Treasury and from the President and from Congress and from everybody involved that quantitative easing is coming in Q1 of next year, it doesn't make any sense that the largest buy signal that Bitcoin is capable of receiving would take place at the same time that Bitcoin is going into the largest bear market that it has ever seen. That makes zero sense psychologically, because the people that were so freaked out about the 4-year halving cycle see, wow, quantitative easing is coming. Bitcoin hasn't jumped off a cliff yet. I guess we're going higher. And I think what you're going to see is in the next month or two, you're going to see a massive cascade of confidence just evaporating in the 4-year halving cycle in the next 3 months, because it is not invalidated yet, and you should be prepared for a 70% bear market. I run all of our calculations, all of our liquidation prices, everything through a 70% drawdown. I am completely and totally positioned in every single aspect of our finances to weather a 70% drawdown on Bitcoin. That is the risk tolerance that I am willing to take. I'm not willing to take a risk tolerance that does not allow for a 70% drawdown. So you need to do the same thing. I would highly encourage that. So the 4-year halving cycle is not invalidated yet. I'm not saying it's dead. I believe that it's going to die very, very soon. I believe in the next 3 months, you're going to see the entire market shift away from believing in the 4-year halving cycle to believing it being dead. And the reason that I say that is because it's the psychology of the investors that kills it. And I've taken the poll many times on X, and many other people have as well. 6 months ago, 90% of people believed in the 4-year halving cycle. Probably something like 90% of them did. Right now, it's a lot more like 50-50. That's really the sentiment that I'm getting on X. That's really the sentiment that I'm getting from everybody involved. There are a great number of people that are leaning in the direction of believing that the 4-year halving cycle is dead. Again, that is not to say that you're not going to see bear markets, because you obviously will. Bitcoin will have 40, 50, maybe even 60% corrections, although I do think 77% corrections are a thing of the past. You will probably see a 50% correction at some point on Bitcoin, and it could be soon. It could be in 2026. But strictly speaking, if you see a 50% correction in 2026, is that really a fulfillment of the 4-year halving cycle? A 50% drop? That's really not what I remember from the previous bear markets. 50% is nothing. We saw 50%, 55% mid-cycle. more than once in the last bear market, in the last bull market. 72% drop here, and then over here, we saw a 55% drop. In 2017, you saw Bitcoin drop 40%, like 8 times. If Bitcoin did, for some reason, drop 50%, 40%, 50% in 2026, is that really a fulfillment of the 4-year halving cycle? I mean, come on. Would Bitcoin not get an enormous amount of support here at the previous all-time high at 75,000, which is a 40% drop off of the all-time high? Would Bitcoin not get massive support here at $65,000, which was our all-time high in April of 2021? Would Bitcoin not, if it did fall over right now, find enormous support between 40 and 48% correction? Let's say that that correction lasts until May of next year. Okay. So what you're looking at here is a 6 to 8 month correction of 40 to 48%. Is that really what we're calling a bear market now? Because if so, I just got very happy. If 40% is the new definition of bear market, I'm all for it. I mean, seriously, if we're calling a 75% crash a bear market and we're saying that validates 4-year halving cycle, I'm real happy. You mean to tell me that Bitcoin's going to rally 1,000% every 4 years, and instead of dropping 77% every 4 years, it's only going to drop 40%? Like, really? That's incredible. Let's say this was the bull market. Let's say that was the bull market. Off the lows, Bitcoin rallied 750%. So you mean to tell me that this is going to be the bear market? Right there. And then we're going to go higher. Like, really? This tiny little nothing burger over the course of the rest of the decade is the last bear market for this decade? Seriously? Okay, and then just humor that. What happens then? Are we going to rally 600, 700%? And then look at that. We're at $650,000 by the end of the decade. Easy. Easy peasy. You're looking at probably $2-3 million a coin in a decade from now. If we are redefining bear markets as saying they're only 40 to 45%, that means that Bitcoin has achieved mass adoption, because that's looking more so like a stock market bear market definition. In the stock market, you consider it a bear market if it's dropped more than 20%. In Bitcoin, you consider it a bear market if it's dropped more than 70%. So if we're not concerned about 70% bear markets anymore, that's a really big deal. So what I need to see Bitcoin do before I can confirm bullishness is I need to see Bitcoin break above a couple of levels. I need to see it break this downtrend. That's a real important one. And I also need to see Bitcoin break above 112, because that's where all the short liquidations are. 112. 112 is also a previous all-time high. It was set right here. So breaking above 112 is a pretty big deal. If we can break above 112, break above this downtrend, that's where I officially get significantly more bullish. Right now, I'm tentatively leaning in the direction that we may have just seen the bottom, although it is too early to tell. What I will say is I am quite confident that once the United States federal government shutdown ends, you're probably going to see a major rally, because the last time that we saw the government shutdown conclude, Bitcoin rallied like 300% in about 4 months. So yeah. Jeff is amusing that the stock market is not doping next year. No, I don't think the stock market is going to drop next year. I think you're going to see massive amounts of QE. I think you're going to see enormous amounts of QE. I'm talking like $1 trillion a year. That China time trading session, lol. Yeah, exactly. Average bear cycle drops are 85%. Not going to happen this time because we did not go high enough. Exactly. Doesn't make any sense. Hey guys, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you, if you are scooping up cryptocurrency and Bitcoin on this dip, you need to make sure that you are doing it in a way that is tax advantaged, because what a lot of people don't realize is that their biggest single expense in life is taxes, which sucks, because I don't know about you, I don't like paying taxes. So if you want to avoid taxes legally, one of the best ways to do it is buy Bitcoin spot in a retirement account. The reason I love iTrust Capital so much is because you are able to actually buy Bitcoin in a retirement account. So if you have not already, I highly, highly, highly encourage you, sign up for iTrust Capital, make an account, and fund it. Bunch of you guys have made an account and you haven't funded it. I assume a lot of you are going to fund it in January because you may have already maxed out your retirement account, and I understand that. If you have not maxed out your Roth IRA or your traditional IRA this year, you need to do so, because you will never be allowed to spend that money ever again. After December 31st ends and January 1st comes, your spending limits for 2025 are gone for good, and you don't ever get to use them. So you need to find the money to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Do it with iTrust Capital. And the reason that you're going to want to do that is because they are the single most trusted IRA provider in the entire cryptocurrency industry. They are significantly larger than every single one of the competition. They have much lower fees than just about everybody else. And when you sign up and you fund your account, not just signing up, but when you fund your account, you will get $100 for free. So go buy some Bitcoin, get $100 for free by going to itrustcapital.com/crypto-jeb. The link will be in the description box down below. Make sure to go and sign up if you have not already. Let's read a little bit of chat. I'm going to have to wrap it out here in about 5 minutes. As you can tell, we are pretty late today. For anyone who is joining just now, the reason that the stream is happening this late and that I'm not going to be able to stay for as long is that my wife was in the hospital earlier today, and I had to be with her there for that. She's been having some heart issues. We're assuming that it's just coming down to recovering from baby and breastfeeding and all of that. But ultimately, we don't know, so we have to take these things very seriously. All right. Salutations, Jeb and all. Salutations to you as well. Salutations to you as well. Yeah, but the stock bubble will pop by January, so the bear market is valid. I don't think so. I don't think stock bubble is going to pop anytime soon anyway. And the reason for that is that you don't actually have to see the pop. What you end up seeing happen is that you're going to see quantitative easing happen before the stock market just completely collapses into oblivion. They will just print the dollar into oblivion. The way that this story ends is not with every market going to zero. The way that this story ends is with the value of the dollar going to zero, which sends everything that is denominated in dollars to the moon. The way that this whole Ponzi scheme of government debt ends is not with the stock market going to zero. It's with the S&P 500 going to 1 million. That's how you know the thing is dying, that it went all the way to the moon, not that it went to zero. So for everyone who's talking about that, I disagree. I think you will see corrections in the stock market, and it will begin to become a less healthy market as time goes on. But what you're going to end up seeing happen is you're going to end up seeing the stock market continue to rally and rally and rally, and there will be downturns, and the stock market probably could do with a 20 to 30% correction. A 20 to 30% correction, for example, a 30% correction would take us back to 2022 highs. You might even see something like what you saw over here, where you saw stocks drop 30 to 40%, right? But these stock valuations are not real. These stock valuations are driven by the expansion of fiat, and they're driven by like 10 companies. Like Nvidia is one of the companies that is driving the United States S&P 500 to the absolute moon. I mean, this is just absurd. This is insane. And by the way, this probably isn't going to stop anytime soon because AI is going nuts, right? You got Tesla also moving in this big breakout pattern. So the United States S&P 500 is going to need to cool off. It's going to need to take some corrections. But in general, it's going to continue going higher forever because same reason that Bitcoin is going to continue going higher forever. Fiat has no bottom. That is why. That's my 2 cents on that. All right. Good luck trading this cycle without becoming an alcoholic. Yeah, for real. Evening, Jeb. Wisely T, good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, guys, if you haven't already, also make sure to check out Stampseed. Keep your seed phrases safe from fire. Man, it is really important you protect your seed phrases from the possibility of fire, because if your seed phrases go up in smoke, it is impossible to get them back. It's not going to happen. Like I said, we're going to wrap it out here in the next minute or so. Appreciate you guys tuning in and being flexible with me as we've been dealing with these health complications. But I do want to do a quick recap because we did talk about the government shutdown. Let's see. New York Times might have something here. This is literally, I'm not a fan of the New York Times at all. It's just the first thing that came up. Senate pushes forward on deal to reopen the government. On the 41st day of the government shutdown, a plan was moving through the Senate with the help of Democratic defectors, but without the health insurance subsidies Democrats long demanded. The Senate on Monday cleared a critical hurdle to passing a bipartisan deal to end the nation's longest government shutdown a day after the plan won the support. A 60-40 vote on day 41 of the shutdown allowed the measure to move ahead with the support of Republicans and the group of 8 Democrat defectors who backed it over the opposition of the rest of their party, which is just by the skin of the teeth because it needed to have 60 votes, and it looks like it has. Let's see. If the Senate passes, we're opening the country very quickly. I'm trying to see if we got anything. I'll abide by the deal. Yada, yada, yada. I don't care about all the details. Trying to see if anything's changed since we went live. Did the shutdown bill pass? Let's see. Looks like it's moving in that direction. Looks like it's moving that direction. It'll then move on to the House. Okay, cool. So it passed the Senate. It's moving to the House. After it passes the House, it'll go to President Trump, and President Trump's already said he'll sign it. So right now, it's kind of looking like Senate locks in vote on funding bill Monday night. They got the votes. Going over, what are we watching? ABC? Okay. Yeah. It'll go to the House. Speaker Mike Johnson said I can get a vote as early as Wednesday. Why the hell would you not vote on it tomorrow? Like, are you kidding me? What is more important on Congress's docket than voting on the spending bill, on the budget? Are you kidding me? It's got to be as early as Wednesday. What do we got to do? Huh? What is it? We got to drive to upstate Virginia so that we can, like, get some fancy coffee or something before the vote? Are you kidding me? Oh, no, I know what it is. I know what it is. First snowfall. We got to go on over to Massanutten and do some skiing. That's what Congress has got to do, right? Oh, you know what? We got to go bend the knee and kiss the toe of Mamdani up in New York City. So that's going to take all day. So we'll be back on Wednesday then. Why can't it be tonight? Are you serious? Anyway. It's possible that the government shutdown will be ending this week. If it does, my prediction is all of these shorts are going to get eaten for breakfast, and Bitcoin will be after 111. Everybody just made me look like an idiot. Tomorrow's Veterans Day. That's what it is. Okay, I'll give you that. Tomorrow's Veterans Day. Work on Veterans Day. You know who worked on Veterans Day? The veterans. You know who else can work on Veterans Day? Our public servants. You want to show some honor to the hundreds of thousands of people buried across the river, Congress? Work on Veterans Day and get the government open. Oh, no, we can't. We can't work on Veterans Day. What is the best? Think of the poetry of it. This is how we honor our veterans this year. We vote to get the spending turned back on so that all of our men in uniform and women in uniform can get paid again. Of all reasons to work on Veterans Day, I think that's the reason to work on Veterans Day. God. We live in a simulation, guys. It's just ridiculous. Hey, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It does look like we're going to see the government shutdown end this week. And when it does, Bitcoin's probably going to go a lot higher. Hey, by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to sign up for 2Bit. Big shout out to 2Bit, who is the leverage trading platform that we use. Be very careful with leverage trading. It can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. We are working on courses and different things to teach you how to do leverage trading. So do it safely by managing risk. So if you are interested, 2Bit is a fantastic platform. Sign up with the link in the description box down below. I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. I got to run. But before I do, I love you. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.